experience. And obviously he has handled some very difficult situations in some of the districts he's been in. Obviously, he believes communication is important. I don't want to take them all, so.
Thanks, Brad. Has some private business experience. You know, he was in the private sector and went back to education. I think those are all positives. You know, he mentioned that, you know, when he went to Clay Center that he was able to change the culture of the school and how important that is. So leave it at that.
I felt his most positive attribute was the fact that he believes in academics strongly, and also at one of his previous positions, he brought the test scores of the school from the lowest to the second in the state, or I believe that's what it was. Brought it quite high anyway. I like the fact that he is not afraid of change or the challenge to improve. And that he thinks a positive attitude is necessary as well.
I guess, you know, for me, you know, looking across his resume and everything, he does have a very diverse background, has a lot of experiences before he was even in education. A lot of different things there. And then just the fact, you know, he grounds himself by centering on the kids and building the school from there. That's all I had.
One last, so I get to pick a question, because you already said. I think the academic, and he said that was important. I think that that's key. I like the fact that probably his biggest success to the stakeholders is to remain positive, educate stakeholders, the staff. He also talked about Band-Aids don't last, but finding common ground, and just, you know, maybe analyzing facility projects with that kind of mentality. Again, good, diverse background as far as his education and his experiences go, and he's a veteran. Good. So.
One other, oh, sorry.
There's one that hasn't been mentioned yet.
Yeah, I found one through my notes.
But I guess the one that I find very interesting, and you've all touched on, is he's got a lot of experience in just about everything. You know, he's got a lot of experience just about everything. I did find it interesting, he didn't talk about a bond, he called it levy overrides, and I was hoping maybe he would expand on that a little bit, but he didn't. And he made the point every time they did it, it's 70% approval. So those were the things that I found interesting. I mean, everything else that you guys said.
Yeah, the levy override was the other thing I was going to mention, the aspect of obviously he's dealt with some issues of finances.
Is that the last one you were looking at?
And he said he was an honest person.
All right. What about Mr. Fuster? Should we let the other side start first?
No, he's going to have much time to prepare.
Mr. Higgins, what
I think he talked about good communications, one of his attributes, and that he cares for his decisions. I don't want to do too couple here, so stay tuned.
Um, Like the ability, his priorities was, the education and the children, and I also like the fact that he's been in very difficult situations before with Dodge House, and also with the Unified District and Verdigris, and when they ended up building a new school, and he's dealt with those issues and been able to get the board to come to consensus. And I really like Bill's leadership attributes.
I did like you said, Ryan, his leadership attributes, but I like the fact that he would bring, the board and the superintendent would work together as a team, that he understands that it's healthy that we have differences, but that we must find compromise. I like that he would bring unity to the community and the district together. And the fact that he does not look in the past and wants to look towards the future, put it behind and move forward.
You guys have touched on a lot of them. I was gonna focus on I'll go back to the same with Dell's, with Hell's Dodge and the Unified. Those couldn't have been easy decisions. Those had to be really difficult decisions at times for him, and the fact that he made it through there and it's still going. The other part is he too grounded himself on the kids, centered himself on the kids, and based his decisions there and worked from that point.
I think he's comfortable. I think he's a good communicator. That's pretty obvious. I think he interviewed well as far as that goes. He's comfortable in front of groups. I think that I like that he's been in tough situations and had to weather through those. Focuses on the kids. I guess one of the biggest things that I took out of it, like Krista said, board and the superintendent got to be a team, and they're not always going to agree, but when the decision is made, we better come together and stand behind it. Focus on the issue and not necessarily the person. And I think that that's an important thing that he had mentioned too. So that's all I have.
I guess what struck me was he was very relaxed, and you had a confidence about him. And I don't mean an overbearing confidence. He had a confidence about him. And I think he takes pride in this community. He's been associated with it. And that's the impression I got, was that he would like to see that pride back in this community again. So maybe this could be a plus and it could be a minus. It almost seems like it could be personal, something that he wants. That's what struck me. Any other?
I got one. He also brought up the elephant in the room. The question is, can he do it and be unbiased? And he's willing to address what would be a tough issue. And he didn't hide it, didn't pretend it wasn't in the room, and he answered it. He's the one that brought it. We didn't bring it to him. He brought it to us. So I think that's a very positive, when you understand, and willing to discuss things that are important. That's it.
Well, that was great that you had questions for the board.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of interviews, and I want to know who I'm working for. What do they stand for? What do they think is important? Because at the end of the day, that's, you have to have some of the same priorities. And I think that's a very important question to ask, no matter who you're working for.
In all fairness, though, Lee was not afforded that opportunity,
Right.
so.
Actually, well, he was. The president gave, I was talking to Mr. Slayer outside, and I said, hey, The president would like to give you the opportunity to come back and if you have any questions for the board. And he did tell me that he was pretty good, he did some research, and he said he didn't have anything at this time, is what he told me. So, but he was given the opportunity. I guess he chose, wasn't as fair because he was downstairs to bring him, but he did give the opportunity.
We just had to send Brad to chase him down.
And my comments were not, I didn't want negatively construed against me or anything, I just.
So the next question is there any concern? And as you know, if we're gonna talk about concerns, we need to go to an executive session.
I have some concerns.
Would you make the motion?
I'd make a motion, we go into executive session to,
I'll second
the
that.
interest of this.
Just a second, let me find my piece of paper. Motion by Brad,
Discuss personnel issues.
second by Kristen. At 10 minutes to 9, 8:50, and to protect the interests and reputation of individuals. Okay. So we'd ask the members of the
Well, we need to
roll call.
Roll call vote. Ford. Kenny, yes. Krista?
Yes.
Ryan, yes. Brad?
Yes.
Well, we're coming out of session at 9:40. And we're back into regular session, open session, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that allows Dave to enter into negotiations with the number one candidate.
We have a motion, is there a second? Motion by Kristen.
Have a second time.
Would you like to do a roll call vote, or
Yep.
any more discussion? Can do a roll call vote, please.
Ford?
Yep.
Frankie? Yes. Schindler?
Yes.
Coinson? Yes. Higgins?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes. Okay. Is there any other business for this board? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.